Welcome to Houghton, Michigan. My name is Maria Kaza. You'll meet my partner Neil Stevie in a little bit. We're going to take a walk down to the Keweenaw Brewing Company. Come along.
Hi, Maria.
Hey, Nils.
KBC.
Thanks.
I'm Nils. Let's see what's on tap today.
The KBC opened in April 2004 in downtown Houghton by Dick Gray and Paul Boisman. The KBC immediately established itself as a community-minded business, selling strictly beer, leaving food for all the other businesses, and closing the tap room early, so not to compete with other local bars. And they also support local artists and musicians. The KBC quickly outgrew the local market for beer and began distributing outside the local area. The KBC further expanded in 2007, opening a wholesale brewing and canning facility in South Range, Michigan. The KBC has grown in production every year, starting with production of only 420 barrels in 2004. The KBC has increased production to 3,800 barrels in 2009. KBC sells beer wholesale in aluminum cans instead of glass bottles. This is not very common for craft beers, as the public perception of cans is not to assimilate them with high-quality beer. This misperception is a definite hurdle for the KBC, but not something that has prevented their expansion thus far. KBC currently cans 4 styles of beer, but is only limited in this regard by storage issues associated with the quantity purchase of the aluminum cans of 200,000 cans per order. So Nils, with the economy these days, are there any external economic factors that help or hinder the sale of craft beers?
Of course, particularly for the microbrewery industry, because being craft brew beers tend to cost a little bit more than your typical imported or domestic beers from large corporations. Since beer is more expensive, when we have economic downturns that we have now, people tend to buy less microbrewery beer.
That makes sense. What about any political, legal, or regulatory factors affecting the sales of craft beer?
Well, microbreweries are defined differently from state to state. For instance, in Michigan, a microbrewery is limited to 30,000 barrels of beer sold per year. Additionally, beer drinkers must be 21 years of age in order to enjoy alcohol.
How does technology play a role in craft brew beers?
Well, microbreweries are typically a lot smaller operations than large conglomerates. So technology and technological trends don't tend to affect microbreweries as much as those other corporations. Sometimes, however, there are technology trends that do catch on in microbreweries. The filtering of carbon dioxide is one of those areas, and that really depends on the size of the microbrewery itself. Some really small microbreweries don't worry about their carbon dioxide emissions because it's so small.
Are there any cultural or social demographic issues that affect the consumption of craft beers?
Cultural trends and demographics do have a significant role in the sale of beer. If you just consider geographically, people from different areas of the world and the United States tend to drink different beers. And this is usually affected by the price of beer. Depending on where you are, people tend to drink beer from different price ranges. But on top of this, you also have individual preferences. Every person tends to have some different beer that they like. But something interesting is that when you get people into groups, these individual preferences tend to get blended together. So on top of individual preferences, you have these group preferences. And that makes it much more difficult for beer companies to market their beers to individuals as well as to the different groups that we see in our societies.
And finally, what about social corporate responsibility? I mean, being smaller businesses, does this affect craft brews?
Corporate social responsibility affects microbreweries in some regard, but not as much as the conglomerates. Microbreweries are seen as a small town business and have that local appeal. So although microbreweries do need to be socially responsible, they aren't under as much pressure as some of the larger conglomerates.
Nils, I forgot to ask you one more question over there by the fire. What's like the KBC all about? What's their mission or their vision?
KBC's mission, Maria, is to turn beer drinkers into craft brew lovers.
So who drinks at the KBC? Beer lovers, of course. College students, professionals, blue-collar workers, and retirees will all be found in the tap room at different hours of the day. Quite often, KBC consumers within the tap room will order a local favorite studio pizza and deliver it right here to the tap room. Or another popular favorite is the KBC's very own sack of nuts. The KBC's relaxed atmosphere allows these local subsegments to stop in year-round, whether for one or for an entire evening. Local events such as MTU's Winter Carnival, Bridge Fest, and Senior Walk are record-setting days for the KBC's pint sales in the tap room. Many local consumers are motivated to buy KBC beer because of the Keep It Local focus of many area advertisements, including the popular radio jingle, "Keeping It Up, Keep It in the UP." Lucky for me, being a college student right here in Houghton, Michigan, allows me to enjoy my beer in a tap room. The biggest difference between the local segment and the non-local segment is how they can consume KBC. If you're not lucky enough to enjoy it here, you got 6 packs to go.
As a microbrewery that distributes canned beer in retail locations, the KBC has a number of significant competitors. There are 4 levels of competition, including brand competition, product competition, generic competition, and total budget competition. Brand competition involves companies whose products are of the same type as the KBC. This would include companies such as New Glarus Brewing Company of Wisconsin, Bell's Brewery, or Founders Brewing Company. Product competition involves products of the same general category as the KBC's canned beers. This would include companies, again, such as New Glarus Brewing Company, Bell's Brewery, and also Budweiser canned lagers. Generic competition involves products that fulfill the same general needs and wants as the KBC's canned beers. This would include products such as Smirnoff's wine coolers, Mike's hard ciders, or old style beer. Total budget competition involves companies and products that compete for the same consumers and their spending money. This would include almost all alcoholic beverages. We've mentioned some of the KBC's most significant competitors. Now we'll choose a few of them and review some of their core competencies and strengths, starting with Bell's Brewery. Bell's Brewery is the oldest craft brewer east of Colorado. They're well established in the lower and upper peninsulas of Michigan, producing 90,000 barrels per year. They have a very creative website with lots of marketing and useful information. They pursue opportunities to expand, distributing in over 15 states. Founders Brewing Company focuses on creating new, unique craft beers. They're headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with a strong presence throughout Lower Michigan. They're also in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and also have distributors in a few eastern states. They expand through beer festivals and obtaining new distributors. Oscar Blues Brewery is the largest craft brewer in the United States to sell beer in cans, making them direct competition for the KBC. They're also the first craft brewer to move to cans around 2002. They have a focus on expansion geographically for distribution and sale of beer. Their cans are sold in 21 states across the U.S. Oscar Blues has a strength in marketing through several venues, including a blog with news updates and frequent educational videos about cans. They pursue market penetration through beer festivals. Now we'll discuss some of the KBC's capabilities, which relate to local presence, non-local presence, and functional capabilities. Concerning local presence, KBC has a large rustic homely feeling tap room, a unique selection of beers, great tasting beer at a low price, a community-minded image, locally named beers, location in a college town, sale of KBC apparel, and sale of KBC growlers. These local capabilities are quite significant in the Houghton community. They arguably combine to form a true competency of the KBC, which is the experience one has visiting their tap room. The KBC tap room in downtown historic Houghton is a favorite hangout of the university students, the faculty, and staff, and the area's locals. The ability to sell great tasting local craft beer for a good price and served in a great atmosphere amongst the local crowds is a definite competitive advantage for the KBC.